You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 61. On this episode of the show, we give you a little update about what we've been up to over the last couple weeks, talk about some current events, and give you an idea how we're going to finish out our waterfowl seasons. All right, welcome to the 61st episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Check us out at hpoutdoors.com on across all the social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can find all the episodes at iTunes if you're just getting caught up with the show. We've got all the episodes there for you to take a look through, as well as on the website. And we're back. This episode been a little while since we've had one out. We've had a lot of things going on in the world of HP as far as family and hunting and things that just compete for your time. So we're excited to be back this episode to talk a little bit about sort of what we've been up to, kind of, how our season's been going. And, we got a couple weeks left here to finish out. So we'll talk a little bit about what we think, how the season's going to round out. So joining me this week, as he always does, Dan Harushka. Dan, I guess, Minivan Dan. What's up, dude?
Minivan. No, well, it's kind of awkward right now because I'm in my kitchen / one of the living rooms, and it's single digits tonight. So usually I'm in the upstairs of my garage is my little studio, which consists of a table and the computer. But I'm nice and comfy tonight, so yeah, it's good to be back on the mic and talking to you, man.
Yeah, likewise. It's been a while, and I know a lot of people have been asking us, when are you do you even put out episodes anymore and stuff like that? And we've talked about it a lot, and just with kids and work and life and stuff, sometimes it just gets really hard to get this set up, and it's not as easy as what everybody might think. But nonetheless, we are back, and we're glad to be here, and we're gonna try to do something a little more regular now. Honestly, one of the biggest things that's preventing me from having a lot of time is just hunting season. It's, early mornings and trying to get all my other stuff done that I need to do for, my wife, my family, and all that kind of stuff. Just doesn't leave a lot of time for anything else. So got 2 weeks left here in Virginia, where I'm at, to hunt honkers. So be doing a little bit of that. And after that, I'm going to be shifting gears to learning how to fly tie and fly fish. And maybe some spring turkeys here in a few months.
I'm excited for turkeys. Yeah, and there has been a lot going on, and 2017 it is a good year. With work picking up and whatever is going on there. But I've also reached a new level of dadhood, I guess. Like now, the girls, usually we'd always record on Thursday nights, and one of the issues there is now the girls have gymnastics. So my twin girls, after work, we take them to gymnastics, and then get home and eat. And by the time they eat and everything and get to bed, then, that's a long day to deal with. So like you said, it's good stuff family-wise, and it does take the time away from being able to sit down and chat with you, but it's all good stuff. So that, and on top of that, I talked to you a little bit before we got on, but my kids just don't want to go to bed, and it's a struggle. Like every night, they sleep good once they fall asleep, but usually it was 8:00. But 8:00 now, they're like dancing around, and we got to where they don't nap during the day anymore. But we're in that transition time, so it's not really working yet, I guess. I don't know, or else they're grumpy and they get through it. But yeah, a lot going on. A lot of fun.
For people to get a little bit of perspective on that, today is Friday, February 3rd. It is 10:57 p.m. And we're just getting started recording this. So that's kind of what we're working with. But anyway, enough about that. Everybody wants to talk a little duck hunting, and so do I. So let's talk a little bit about just kind of some of the things that have been going on in the waterfowl world since the last time we were on. And, it's been a while since we've been on, released an episode. So, we're just going to kind of hit some of the high notes and, really something that kind of, kind of shook me and, a little bit as a waterfowl hunter. And I know had an impact across the waterfowling community was the passing of Wade Bourne. Wade's one of those guys where he's just sort of synonymous with DU. And, I've seen him on television for so long. I can remember, being a kid, back before outdoor television was really a thing. And, ESPN2, I believe, or maybe it was ESPN, I can't remember, would have outdoor shows on Saturday mornings. And primarily they were fishing, but every once in a while you'd have like a reel tree show and you'd get like some duck hunting and stuff on there. And I remember seeing Wade Bourne and, was always writing in the magazine and stuff like that. So, really, really a sad day for the waterfowl, community with the passing of Wade or Wayne or whatever, Wade Bourne, right? That's his name, Wade?
Yeah. Wade.
Yeah. I thought it was Wade. I was going to say, I'm saying Wade, and I think that's right, but didn't want to insult anybody there, but, the passing of Wade is, one of those things where it's, the hunting community lost a good one. And it's strange because the DU shows are still airing right now and I'm watching him, hunting and stuff. And it's just always kind of eerie to know that, he's on that hunt. He had no idea that would be the last time that he was doing that kind of hunt and stuff. So, unfortunate, but definitely a lot of people, putting out there on social media how saddened they were for his loss and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I didn't realize. I mean, he's been a co-host for Ducks Unlimited for like 10 years and whatnot, but I didn't realize that he was inducted to the National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame in 2003. So I mean, that was kind of just out of high school a couple years and whatnot. So I wasn't all up on the outdoor TV shows all the time, but,
right.
He's an outdoorsman of the outdoorsmen. So that's definitely a big loss.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's keep talking about duck hunting. And, I do have the Minivan Dan nickname, but, lately it's also been Diver Dan. Our duck season's out now, but I mean, I did knock down a bluebill, buffleheads, ringneck, goldeneye. I mean, I don't know what else I need to prove with my giant spread of 6 bluebill decoys.
So that was a wake up call to me, and that was cool. I was glad to see you guys took advantage of that and shooting some goldeneye. That was really neat, really cool. Had a good bufflehead beat down the one day, and the diver situation for me this year was kind of disappointing, honestly. I mean, we had a couple good pushes of birds. The problem was they came in sort of waves. So we got a good push of birds, and then that group was around for a while, and they got kind of smart, because we killed all the dumb ones. So then they get kind of smart and it just becomes frustrating because you can't, there's definitely numbers flying around, but you can't kill them because they kind of know the deal. So then you get another good push. I can't remember what it was. It was like the first Saturday of our third split, and I can't remember why, but I couldn't hunt that day or something. And of course, people that were hunting in the area that I would have been hunting in, pounded the birds, ducks everywhere. And they were literally there for like 48 hours and they moved on. So by the time I got down there and hunted, all of those birds had been gone. And we really only got one more kind of decent push of birds. Never really did see good numbers of cans or redheads or anything like that. It was primarily bluebills, buffleheads, ruddy ducks, that kind of stuff. So we had our fair shot, it was fair opportunities, but it was tough. And, by the end of the duck season, I was ready to put the diver spread away and go chase honkers. Cause, for whatever reason we did get, and we have, we did get really, really good numbers of Canada geese this year. And actually right now, it almost seems like some of these birds are starting to head north already because over the last week or so, we've really lost a lot of our birds for whatever reason. But, right there through most of the month of January, we had some really, really good numbers here.
Yeah, and the weather's been so weird too, and that's one of the things. I think the 2016 my New Year's resolution was to get a diver duck decoy spread, and it got to the point where Trav and I were hunting a little bit, and he was asking me about some mallard decoys, and I was like, don't buy any. I have some in a box here, so just take them. And then he actually bought the bluebill ones, and he's like, here, since you gave me that and a bag for him, you can have the bluebills. So that's how I acquired my six deeks, but a little barter. But hey, it worked. And with the weird, that cold snap we had, and this is one of the first times that we actually got to shoot good divers around here in duck season. So, and it was the last 4 or 5 day split that we have, but it's still just, even with whitetail, the PA seasons are just, they're not sportsman friendly. It seems like, or maybe it's for trying to do warmer weather if people don't want to go out in January or what for ducks. But I mean, duck doesn't even make it to the new year. And even I guess, if we're talking archery season.
Yeah, I saw you guys had your panties in the
They
water.
cut it off right before rut starts. It's shorter and shorter every year. It's crazy. But I mean, my panties were in a bunch. I've been getting kind of fired up lately about stuff. I don't know why.
It is kind of weird because
it's one of those things, I guess. But
so they stopped the archery season right before prime rut, but then there is no hunting of deer until the day after Thanksgiving, correct? With the rifle season.
Right. Yeah, well, it'll be that following Monday.
The Monday after Thanksgiving
Thursday,
is when it always starts in Pennsylvania, and it's
the following
2 weeks
Monday.
long.
Right. So 2 weeks worth of rut.
Off the first
there's no
November
deer
or
hunting.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be November 11th this year.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have the same frustration when it comes to deer, but I have a similar one in the sense that in Virginia, they bring the muzzleloader season in the first of the first Saturday of November. And then it's runs until the rifle season comes in, usually November 17th or 18th, something like that. So you get muzzleloader hunters, and we can use inlines and everything here. So it's like rifle season essentially. You get those guys out there during prime rut, which stinks because that's really the bread and butter for an archery hunter. But we've got so much urban sprawl and all that kind of stuff going on here that there's plenty of pockets of archery only areas to hunt where it's never really impacted me much in that regard. But, and honestly, to this point, I've pretty much become a meat hunter, for my deer hunting. I just, I'm putting meat in the freezer and then I'm heading back to the duck swamp or the goose blind at this point.
Yeah. And then tomorrow, and I was talking to you too, I guess my early season, September, kind of got shot because I was out in Colorado elk hunting and then came back, and I think I only hunted once early season and got out once again for geese, November maybe. But then it opens up again tomorrow, and we have the entire month of February, so that's good. But the wife works tomorrow, so I'll have the 3 kiddos and the group's going out to smash some honkers that have been landing on one pond that's been open. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, it just seems like scheduling, no matter if it's to hunt or to record or whatever, it's just
and I'm actually
a bad year in that sense.
I don't know, a situation in my mind that I kind of wrestled with, and I'll get your opinion on this. So if you're going to ask me, what do I prefer to hunt, ducks or geese? The answer to that is ducks. I like hunting divers. I like hunting mallards, puddle, I like duck hunting more so than hunting geese. Having said that, unless we get the right weather, we don't really get any divers. If we get good weather, we get good diver hunting, but that's hit or miss. And we really don't get great puddle duck hunting, regardless of the weather. I mean, you'll find pockets of puddle ducks, but it's hard. It's not consistent. And we're definitely not throwing greenheads all over the, straps of greenhead limits and stuff like that, like some of the other parts of the country. However, we get geese here pretty much regular, every year. We've got a bunch of residents, and we get a pretty good migration push, even when the weather's not super, super cooperative. So I'm really kind of having a hard time because I spend a lot of my time chasing ducks and not being real happy with, I'll go duck hunting and I'll shoot a handful of ducks when I know I could have gone out that same day and shot a 5-man limit of honkers. No problem. Every weekend. And I'm kind of almost to the point where I'm like, is this a situation where you just kind of got to have to hunt what you have? And should I spend more time focusing on hunting honkers? For our part of the Atlantic Flyway, that's pretty much what we get the most of is Canada geese. And I'm really kind of wrestling with that because I got a lot of access to good goose hunting spots. And it's like, how do I balance it? Cause it's not like I don't like hunting geese. I do. But if you give me an opportunity to get on a good duck shoot, I'm going to do that over goose hunting. But at the same time, am I missing really good hunts trying to line up that one really good duck hunt? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it just, it's what's in your soul there. What kind of soul feeding do you need? Because really, I don't know. There's nothing like 30 honkers set in from 300 yards out and just floating into you, and at the same time, there's nothing like those wings whistling first thing in the morning. So it's tough, and I don't know. It depends how much you want to talk and BS, because in a goose blind, you can, I think, BS a little more than in a duck blind early morning anyways. And then you get some fast shooting going, and it's tough to judge. If you want to fill your freezer, if you want to make some hot sticks with a bunch of goose meat, then
I definitely I gotta
go and do that.
A freezer full of goose meat right now.
That's a tough call. See, and it's funny because right now I am in the same situation as you, but I've been reversed. I've been the honker guy for years, and now, like, if I have a choice, I'm going duck hunting.
That's still my choice too, but we just don't have. So, and you guys have had some pretty good duck numbers. Towards the end of your year there, some unique opportunities. Like, so if I was in your shoes, I'd have been doing the same thing. But, I'm just, I don't know. It's one of those things where, I've wrestled.
What doesn't, it doesn't help when the one time that you don't go out, the guys that go to the area you're going have an absolute smackdown on birds. So every time that you think, oh, I should go goose hunting, but it might be that time where it's nonstop duck action.
Goose calling versus to duck calling. I don't know why. I like running a goose call. So that does weigh into it, to me as well. The problem too is most of our goose action here is on ponds. We hunt a lot of like pasture ponds, loafing ponds. We don't do a ton of just straight up field hunting. And you would think that might lend itself to getting some duck action in with the geese. And there's certainly a couple ponds where it's like first thing in the morning, we can set up for a couple maybe some ducks for the first like 15, 20 minutes. And then after that, we pack it up and get ready for geese. But we're not killing really good numbers. For me to kill good duck numbers, I need to go down to the river and get this spread out. And I need a good boat. That's what I would need to really, if I had a boat, I would shoot I would have shot diver limits probably close to every time I hunted the river this year. because even those smart ones, the smart ones get used to the blinds. They don't get used to, a floating blind brushed in out in that flight path. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But,
Right.
I don't know, man, wrestling with that big time. And, I'll get into this, I guess, now a little bit. I did, some of our other buddies did the annual trip up to Maryland for the hunt on the Eastern Shore that you weren't able to make, unfortunately, this year. And I mean, the hunting was tough. We ended up doing okay, but the hunting was tough. Weather didn't cooperate, all that good stuff. But the last day we shot good numbers of Canada geese, and we got to work some snow geese. We took a snow toll of about 150 birds, came in and, did real well on them. And I'm telling you right now, I haven't had a chance to do much snow goose hunting in my time, but that is something that I'd like to do a little bit more of, because that was a ton of fun. And the best part about the snow goose hunting is they're such smaller birds, and they're so much more frail, it seems like. You ever have that Canada goose, that big old gander just coming in, and you thump that thing once or twice, and you're like, and it just flies off, and you're like, what, what's going on? Yeah, I mean, it just holds it, right? Or it sails on you, and you got to go run it down and all that nonsense. I mean, these snows, they were taking body blows and dropping like crazy. You know what I mean? It was just like, it was awesome. It was a really cool deal. And I'd like to get into, some of these, Tony Vandemore now is posting all these pictures of these, snow tornadoes and stuff that they got going on. And man, that just seems like the ticket there.
Yeah, I think, and even, the guides down there always say, it's like shooting paper mache targets. Yeah. Like you get a couple BBs in them and they're coming down. So, and that's one thing, my brother has moved out towards on the eastern side of PA, and all he sees is just the flyway of Canadas and snow geese. So he's like, come on down and let's do a snow goose hunt. So end of February, beginning of March, sometime in there, depending when the birds show up, I think we're going to go on a day hunt, which is kind of scary for me because, I've asked around, and a lot of guys have went out there and just had bad experiences. So if anyone has hunted the Lancaster area for snows and you've had a good experience with a guide, shoot us a message and let me know what you think. Or, on the other hand, if you've had a bad experience, also let me know so I don't go with that crew, because I'm sure there's a lot of fly-by-night outfitters out there that
and snow goose,
just trying to get some income.
Hunting is such a crapshoot too. I mean,
But yeah, I'm excited.
Oh, they were just behind the migration a couple days or whatever. When they move in just big knots like that, timing is so important, and it's just risky business when you're dealing with that species and targeting them. And it was funny because we had no expectations of shooting any snows when we were up on Maryland, even though we saw some. But our last day was really foggy, and as when we hunt with our guide, he doesn't really shoot for the most part, unless it's like a cripple or something that he's taking care of. And we heard this snow goose flock coming from a ways off. And as they got closer and closer, he made the comment, he was like, these ones might do it. And we still couldn't see them. We couldn't see them until they were like right on top of us. I mean, it was so foggy. But all of a sudden, here they come, and they just materialize out of this fog. And we had two guides in the blind with us that particular morning. And the one guide that we normally hunt with, he's been hunting up there a long time and kind of knows what the deal is. And as these birds came into our view through the fog, he turned to the other guide and he goes, "Load my gun," because he knew, like, just from the way they were approaching, that they were going to do it. And I mean, they circled twice, and it was just like,
that's awesome.
It was just 150 birds on top of you. And I know for for snows and stuff, that's a small number, but it was still cool. And we just tore into them. All six of us, I think, in the blind were, shooting and dropping birds and stuff. But, just a cool experience, man. So if you do it, I hope you get a chance to get on them, because it's definitely fun and probably something else that, you'll get hooked on to as well.
Right. And I agree. I guess I have very low expectations of, a huge kill number, but at the same time, if we go out there and the guide's out there and excited to be out there and, not just sitting in his truck or refusing to put decoys out like some of the reviews I've looked at, I think it'll be a pretty good time. So we'll see. And I am excited about it. So hopefully we can get that locked down. And even a day hunt, that's about a 5-hour drive for me to get out there. But he's sending me Snapchats every day and just tons of birds around. So it's crazy that, 5 hours away, but really if I drove, 3.5 hours east, I'd be in that same flyway instead of southeast. But just the amount of birds, and he'll just send me, thousands of Canadas flying down through there, and he's like, "This is crazy." So he just moved down. So
a different ballgame.
That's all I hear about.
And every time we go up to Maryland, they pretty much say, "We got no birds," and it's like more birds than I see in an entire season. So right, it's just a different beast over there. But
in one field,
there was a couple things that actually I learned from my Maryland trip that I wanted to kind of share with everybody this year, and it's kind of two main things. The first is our good buddy Travis had just purchased a new Benelli Super Black Eagle 2, and I was messing around with that, shouldering it up, and what that gun had on it was it's got the front bead down at the end of the barrel, but it also had another bead sort of halfway down the barrel. And at first, and I don't know if I've ever shouldered a shotgun that had that. And I had a few hunts this year where, I wasn't killing birds that were like right in my face, and I was just not understanding why. Cause I thought, I took my time, picked one bird, like the whole deal, and they were just not dying. So I shouldered his Benelli, and man, the difference that it makes having that second bead, you can clearly and instantly know if you're down on the stock or not, and you got a good, sight alignment. And what it basically told me was I was not getting my face far enough down on the comb of the stock, and, getting it up in my shoulder in the pocket and all that good stuff just right. So that little bit of adjustment, I think, was causing me to miss. So, if guys out there that have those two beads on their guns, probably know exactly what I'm talking about. And for those that you don't, if you ever get the opportunity to shoulder one, you will immediately see the difference. So I am definitely getting a second bead put on my shotgun this off season to help with that, because I think it's just, a game changer for me personally. The second thing that I learned is I had the first day, my gun, was just having problems feeding a little bit, and it just didn't sound real good as far as when I worked the action. And I had cleaned the gun recently, so I didn't think that was the issue. But when I got home after the first night, I stripped the gun down and got into the stock and everything. And what I found was there was a bunch of rust inside the stock from where, hunting in brackish water and stuff, it got in there and just had started corroding things. Well, what's in the stock is that spring recoil tube that, was making the noise when it was and not cycling real well because it was rusted inside the tube. So I got some break free CLP that Travis had and sprayed it all through the receiver and down into that spring. And my gosh, like the difference that stuff made was incredible. It was like a different action after I let that soak in and break up all the crap and clean it out. Man, I'd never used break free before, but I'm telling you right now, I'm a believer. I'd always been a big hoppies guy and stuff like that. I don't think I'll ever use anything more than break free. It's a lubricant. It's a cleaner. It's just a really, really good product. So if you guys are looking for something that's easy to use, pretty cost effective, can get it on Amazon Prime pretty cheap. Definitely check out CLP, break free CLP. I know a lot of guys use it, and it's not a new item, but this is really my first kind of legitimate experience with it, and I can tell you right now, I'm a believer.
And use it in a well ventilated area,
right?
Because it is potent. So, and then Trav, what was the issue with Trav's gun?
So Travis, this was like the fourth hunt he'd had that gun on, and he was having problems ejecting the shell. So he would shoot, and the empty cartridge would be hanging up in the receiver. And at first we thought it was because he was shooting heavy shot or heavy steel. And at first we just thought maybe it was something with the heavy steel that was causing a problem, because, you know, it was just happened with that ammo. So we switched it up, and eventually it started happening again, this time with like Federal or whatever other ammo he had. So we kind of eliminated that as the process. So ultimately he put the gun up and got out his A300 backup and finished the hunt with that. I believe what I saw was that the ejector spring had failed on that gun that quickly. And so he contacted Benelli and they took care of him. But yeah, I mean, I was shocked to see, because I mean, you know, everyone that I've ever hunted with, that hunts with Super Black Eagles or Super Black Eagle 2, rave about the gun. I've never seen it not be reliable. As a matter of fact, I love that gun. I think the way it feels, the way it shoulders, just, you know, feels like it was made for me. One of the most biggest benefits of that gun that I think is when you break it apart, the actual upper half of the receiver is attached to the barrel. So you have access all the way back through the trigger assembly and everything for cleaning. Super convenient. You know, ours is, you got the receiver and you got to pull the bolt out and you got to pop out a pin and drop the trigger guard out and all that kind of stuff. And it's just much more cumbersome. That system is just awesome. So, you know, a lot of guys say, well, what gun do I go with if I'm spending top dollar? I don't know. I still think the Benelli is probably one of the better buys out there. You know, I like the design personally. I'm glad to see that they stood behind the gun and he had a good experience with that. And I will tell you though, you know, the A300, for me and what I've paid for that gun and what I've put it through, has performed for me really, really well. So, I've heard of a lot of people actually having some problems recently with some of the upper echelon Berettas, the Extremas and some of those. But for me, I've had a really hard time finding a negative review on the A300.
Yeah, it seems pretty bomb-proof. So, you know, and then Benelli just came out with the SBE3, right. And that leads me to my next question to see if you watched To Kill a King yet with Vandemore?
No, I don't have Outdoor Channel.
I haven't seen it yet. I do want to watch it, and I tell you what, some of those pictures, you know, the photography nut that I've become, some of those pictures, and even in the Under Armour against those black rocks up in Alaska, I mean, that's just, yeah, that looks super cool.
Hunt. I mean, those ducks are just, you know, amazing. Very, very cool hunt. Tony's living a charmed life, man. You know, I mean, that guy's just, you know, living the duck hunter's dream, which is awesome. But, you know, I'm glad to see stuff like that happen. You know, I want to see more waterfowl outdoor television. You know, I've complained about this in the past, but as a Verizon Fios customer, we had Sportsman's Channel and Outdoor Channel, and then they dropped them both. And then out of the blue, I was surfing through channels like a month ago and discovered that we have the Pursuit Channel, which I was like completely floored. So now I can at least watch AVNX TV, DU TV, The Grind, Waterfowl. So, you know, I've got some outdoor programming that I can check out there. They've got, you know, Flyway Highway and some other stuff, the Honey Break Experience. So Pursuit Channel is pretty solid, but I was a fan of the Outdoor Channel because I liked watching the Heartland Waterfowl guys. And unfortunately, I can't watch them now because my stupid cable provider. And I don't get to see this Tony show as well. But I'm hoping that there'll be something online with it that I could maybe catch it here sometime.
Right. So, another, we were talking about me getting fired up about stuff online, and the one, the House Bill 621, the public land transfer, which the cat out of Utah proposed again. I guess it was brought up by Clinton, and nothing was ever done with it, and he brought it up again. So, that has been, he withdrew it, which was good, and that's after a big stink. But I mean, trying to sell off 3.3 million acres, you're going to upset some people. Especially, you saw more out of like Montana, which I think Montana had 300,000. I think Wyoming had like 600,000 some acres. And then like New Mexico and Arizona, I want to say, they were talking about like 800,000 acres that they were looking to sell off. So anyone that keeps up with it at all knows that, once this is in states' control, that they just don't have the funds for upkeep and everything like that. So they end up selling to private sales, and pretty much essentially just becomes non-huntable, non-fishable, non-hikeable areas. And that's what the big stink is about, and for good reason. So I'm glad that got pulled back. And I actually, before we got on here, I just read that there's another one that is in the works to be brought up. So, I think they're trying to make up a deficit somewhere, and it's unfortunate that they're trying to go after public land. So just keep vigilant. And for anyone that cares about that and fly fishing, like I know you want to get out to Montana and do that stuff, and I would love to join you with it. So I know, like RMEF and Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, there are a few organizations that are really behind this. So
Trout
kudos to them and
groups like that. Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't want to pull the show into a big political discussion here. But what I will say is there's only so much money to go around, and
right.
And if you're in a situation where your state is trying to be fiscally conservative, they're going to look at ways to cut expenses. And unfortunately, public lands is probably a big expense for some of them, because it's not only land that they have to pay to manage and pay personnel to manage and all that kind of stuff, but it's also land that they're not receiving tax income from a private owner. And when you're talking several hundred thousands of acres, that could be a significant amount. I don't really know, but that's an assumption. So my point here is, as you can tell in the media, the loudest voice gets the most attention, right? And that's what this is all about. So all I'm going to say is, as an outdoorsman, and as an outdoor community, it's our responsibility to, and this goes for, Second Amendment rights and things that, go along with that. It's our responsibility to make sure that we're doing our part. So when you see this stuff happening and you see, write your congressman or write your representatives and stuff, don't just assume that everyone else is doing it, because if everyone's making that same assumption, then no one's doing it. So be accountable to yourself and get involved. It doesn't take a lot. But what I will tell you is there was something here recently in the state of Maryland about sanctuary counties and things like that, and a county that was proposing to become a sanctuary county. And the mayor or the councilman or something, somebody that had the authority to veto it, was talking on the radio. And he said, originally we were getting emails from people that were taking the time to tell me why this is important to them, one way or the other. And he's like, I read them and I consider them. He's like, more and more it's become the copy paste. It's it's the same message, just, whatever. He's like, I will tell you that has less impact on me than someone who takes the time to show me why this is important. So it doesn't have to be long-winded, but if you can write 4 or 5 sentences about genuinely why you care about a particular issue, that will have an impact somewhere down the line. And at least at the end of the day, you can't say that you didn't try. if something doesn't go in your favor. But as you can see with at least this first run of this Utah bill, this guy from Utah that proposed this bill, it worked. I mean, people showed up, they put out, and I think they will continue to do that to fight this as much as they can. But as I said, there's only so much money to go around, so things are going to get cut, and you want to fight with everything you got to make sure that the things that you value don't get cut, or at least don't get cut significantly. So that's all I'll say.
Right.
I'm not a big over-regulator. I'm not into the EPA, all that kind of stuff, but I do care about clean water. I care about clean streams and fishing and hunting and opportunities and habitat. So I do pay attention to that kind of stuff, and just make sure that you're aware of what's going on around you, I guess.
For sure. And reading into it, that's not and they are, they're not in a state control yet, so I don't know what you just think about the cronies in politics, and no matter what side, it just seems like there's some shady stuff always trying to happen. And like you said, just stay vigilant and keep an eye on it and take the time to do it. But could you imagine how exhausting that would be, to how many emails you'd get, no matter what the bill is, but if someone's passionate about it, to keep getting a copy and paste,
right.
I'm sure there's programs that can create email addresses and just flood inboxes. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
that'd be pretty annoying. I guess one other thing I wanted to mention, I don't have too much more to talk about, but we had Barton on here and his gun dog training and everything like that, and they just came out with a training program, the Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, I believe is what it's called, and they just launched it, and I think for the next couple weeks they do have a sale going on, but pretty much all his training tips in one location, and once you do sign up and get it, I don't think it ever expires. So if you have a dog or you're thinking about getting a dog and want to know how to train it correctly, it's himself and I think a couple other trainers that are on there giving tips and techniques on how to train your dog. So I watched some of the videos, and it's really impressive, and they break it down, and I'm excited for one day. I do believe I'll have one of his dogs, and that'll be a good day, I think.
Yeah, we need to get him on the show to talk about that a little bit and sort of give us some insight as to what he's got going on, because he's definitely growing the business down there and, having a pretty big impact on the community, I think, and stuff like that. So definitely a good resource, and we're kind of fortunate to have him as, sort of a friend of the show, so to speak. So
yeah, he started Southern Oak Kennels right when we started HP Outdoors, so it's a good relationship, and he's definitely just crushing it down there. And I think that you and I need to get on some of those hunts as well. We don't have a dog to take down from his kennel, but I know they do a lot of training on those hunts. But
and I don't have a dog from his kennel, but I do have a shotgun, so I can bring that.
So yeah, no doubt. But yeah. So what else you got?
Really, man, that's pretty much it. I wanted to, we thought that this would be an episode where we just kind of let everybody know. At one point there's a rumor circulating that there may be some genuine fear for your health, and someone was worried that what might have been going on. So, we wanted to just let everybody know that we're doing good, and it's just we do our best, and we'll try to continue to get out episodes as we can, and hopefully we can, now that hunting season's slowing down a little bit, get a little more regular releases, and I can share some of my fly fishing experiences and stuff, and we want to get back into people, guests on the show, and kind of talking more specific tips and tactics and stuff, about different things that might be able to help you guys out. So if you got particular topics that you'd like us to try to address in the show, and you can send them our way, and we'll certainly do our best to see who we can get on the show to discuss them if we can't do it ourselves.
Oh, I did I did want to talk about my waiter experience as well.
Okay.
I went with the Sims
right.
Sims breathables.
That's when I actually got something on this front too.
Stocking foot. So, the boot foot I think would actually be a little bit warmer, but there were multiple days that were in the teens, and I had absolutely no issues with them. I mean, it's so much easier to move around, be agile, like going out, fixing decoys or whatever you need to do. And there's not the sweaty feeling that you get with the neoprene. So, I think guys will fight either way, but from being a neoprene guy my entire life to this being my first year in the breathable waders, there's no way I'm going back. No way.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. I mean, I've pretty much made that last season when I got my breathable waders that my days in the neoprene were done. However, I posted this in the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast listeners group on Facebook, which if you'd like to join, you can search that in Facebook, request access, we'll get you in there. I had a year-old pair of Cabela's breathable waders that started leaking on me this year. And I was really perplexed as to what was going on. I was quite frankly, I was really disappointed. And, I just couldn't seem to figure it out because there wasn't any holes and it wasn't significant wetness. It was almost like it was leaking through the material, which I knew wasn't the case. So I started doing some research online and trying to figure out what I could do. And what I ended up doing was I bought a tube of shoe goo and I just turned my waders inside out and I just started coating the inside of the waders on the seams, about an inch on either side of the seam, and would just put a coat on, let it dry, put another coat on, let it dry, did it again, let it dry, waited a couple days. I just wanted to build it up. And that stuff is great. It's super easy to apply. It dries pretty quickly. It's strong. It kind of bends with the fabric. It's worked great. My waders are dry. I've had no issues. So I'm actually really hopeful now that I've, started using that stuff, that I'm going to be able to get several years, it's going to lengthen the life of my breathable waders. Because I do think the seams are the ones that fail the most. I mean, I'm 6'4", 215 pounds. So when I'm in deeper water and I'm jumping up into a canoe or I'm stepping over something, I stress the seams of those waders. I think that this is going to help me out a ton. So if you've got wader leak problems and you can't seem to really kind of pinpoint it, because I tried everything. I tried the go in the dark, put a flashlight inside the wader, run it along the seams, look for holes and stuff like that. Didn't find any. Filled the waders with water. And I didn't do this with my breathables. I did this with some neoprenes that leaked like a sieve. Just threw them things in the trash can. But, I couldn't, I didn't have that smoking gun like, oh, I nicked it on some barbed wire or something sharp and I got a big hole here I got to deal with. It was kind of just that like mystery leak. So I just went after all the seams, from basically the crotch down. And, man, it's been a lifesaver. So for like $7 or $8, I probably put another, who knows how much longer life into my waders. So if you're having seam problems, and I know some guys are having problems with those Cabela's waders like I have just from the Facebook group, definitely look into the shoe goo remedy because it's really worked for me.
I had shoe goo on neoprenes and I think there's just no turning back. It did really well. And like you said, it's nice because it is like a flexible, I guess it would be like Flex Seal. But it was nice and it stopped the majority of it, but it was still, I think they were just too far gone. Yeah. So that's good to hear that you were able to remedy it for sure.
Yeah. And it was a lot easier to apply than what, when I tried to patch my neoprene waders in the past, I just kind of struggled with it. They're bigger, they're bulkier, they're harder to turn inside out. Like it just doesn't work as well. Harder to work with. The breathables are lightweight. I mean, super easy. And even when I haven't had any. This is my second season with them. Haven't had any problems staying warm, that kind of stuff. So neoprene waders are a thing in the past for me.
It's just one of those things you just don't know how good it is on the other side. And I definitely, jumping into Sims with the price tag, it is a scary jump because you don't know what it's going to be. But then you see people fly fishing and, they're breaking ice and all that. So, that it is made for harsh conditions. And I don't know, we don't get, it's not like we're pro staff or get paid by any breathable wader companies, but, trying to make life easier on everyone.
Well, and the thing too is, you look at waders on the market and these various companies, you're seeing more and more breathable wader options. Some are insulated, some are uninsulated. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that this is the trend in the market, and I think it will only continue. And, they're probably tapping a lot of the fly fishing industry for technologies and things like that. And it's probably going to be a slow process for the waterfowling community at large to adapt them because, it's just that it's the way it's always been kind of deal. But I don't know many people that aren't at least on some level frustrated with neoprene waders. So I think when people get over the fear of, well, I can't wear those and be warm, once that fear is addressed, I feel you'll see a lot of people switch to the breathable waders and be much, much happier.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
Good point there, Danimal. Anything else you want to add here before we call it a day? Now we're near on midnight our time. So we got anything else you want to talk about?
No. Yeti just won a lawsuit against RTIC for I guess their copyright pretty
Patent
much
infringement or something.
But I mean, pretty much made the exact same Kohler, and RTIC has to open their pocketbook a little bit and redesign Kohlers for this coming year. So if you hear this right now, probably by the time this is out Monday, all the Kohlers will be gone. But RTIC is like half the price of Yeti. Plus, they have a big discount going on because they can't keep these. So, if you're looking for a 40 or 60, might want to check it out because there's still some on there for sale, and they aren't a bad price at all.
Cool. Well, one man's loss is one man's gain. So
there you go. There you go.
All right, man. Well, I don't think I have anything else, so let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. All right, thanks for joining us for episode 61 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. It was good to get back on the mic with you guys, check in, and hopefully we'll be able to get you some more regular episodes here coming up. If you're just new to the show, catch up on all the past episodes on iTunes or at hpoutdoors.com. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. Shoot us an email. Let us know what's going on. If you have questions or concerns, something like that, hit us up. And hopefully you guys are out making the best of the end of the waterfowl season and finishing strong. So for Dan, I'm Josh. Till next time, take care.